Hey guys, this is Ira Coleman, the founder of Fluent Hustle. We're live on set here at Capital One Café as we continue our Financial Confidence and Money series. We're joined by Nancy Lambert, Capital One Café's local marketing and community engagement lead, and Amy Westbrook, Capital One Café's money coach. Our guest today is Michael Bevis, the owner of KoolSkinz. Fluent Hustle believes in empowering entrepreneurs via a community of trust, sharing, learning, and growth to ensure entrepreneurial success and personal fulfillment is achieved. Capital One Café believes in empowering people to feel confident about their relationship with money by leveraging resources to solve their money problems and to help them reach their financial goals. Both Fluent Hustle and Capital One Café are focused on helping people develop important life skills. Fluent Hustle wants to help entrepreneurs build their business, network, and world, and Capital One Café wants to help people take control of their personal finances and achieve their goals. Right now, we're here in Denver at the Union Station Lodo location at Capital One. This is over an 8,000 square foot facility, and I want Nancy to really start off the show with us about explaining what this space is about, what this cafe brings to the community, and the difference you guys are looking to make within the banking industry overall.
Absolutely. First, we're located on 15th and Wewata, right on the corner. Can't miss us in this beautiful triangle building. And Capital One Café is truly first and foremost a bank, but it is a very different way of banking. Ira just mentioned it's really about empowering people to have financial confidence with their relationship with money. Amy here will talk a little bit about that as our money coach, but what we're really trying to do is design a space that intersects both the physical and digital components that's designed to meet how people bank today. I think most people really appreciate being able to bank in a digital fashion. It's quick, it's convenient. However, they still want that human connection, and the Capital One Café is really about bringing those elements together. It's a space that's designed truly to meet all the things that you might want to do in a space like this, whether it's using our meeting rooms that are dedicated for nonprofits and student groups, or using the free Wi-Fi, or having a cup of coffee or a local pastry. It's always something happening here at the cafe, and the bank is truly about just reimagining what that experience can be like to really enhance what you do, not only in the space in the bank, but just in the community itself. It's such a wonderful expression, I think, of how to really make people feel confident with their relationship with money.
So one thing I've noticed coming in and out of here is that so many people don't recognize what this space is about. And it's just really cool to just kind of sit back and be part of that experience when a customer's walking in and they're getting a chance to speak to an ambassador and be like, holy cow, like, one, I didn't know you guys were a brand or a bank location as a cafe.
Right. And
two, I didn't know I can come in here and handle my personal banking. But then also have an opportunity to hang out and utilize the space and either do business out of here, either study out of here if you're a student, or come in here and use one of the nooks, which is a phenomenal opportunity for people to take advantage of just that personal space to get things done. Less than 2 years ago, at the end of 2016, you guys opened up this cafe and also the other one in Boulder. Mm-hmm. What are some successes that you guys have seen and continue to see, and what can we look forward to here at a Capital One Cafe?
Sure. So I think for us, the biggest success in my mind is the connection we have with the community. Mm-hmm. One of the things I absolutely love and am so proud of is all the ambassadors here have volunteered. So we have 100% engagement in all the volunteer activities that we've done here in this community. So far this year, we've logged over 100 hours, which is amazing to me as well. We've worked with so many different nonprofits. We have a wonderful relationship with Heart and Hand, Dress for Success, but also a lot of membership organizations like the Downtown Denver Partnership, Lodo Inc., Women's Chamber of Commerce, just to mention a few. It's really about that connection to those nonprofits in the community that truly makes me feel like we've done the right thing here. And kind of alongside of that is the programs that we have along Future Edge. And Future Edge is something that is really transforming what we do in the nonprofit community. We've given over, I want to make sure I got the dollar figure correct here, over $150 million over 5 years, and it's really helping people to develop skills for the 21st century, helping with small business development. So doing something like this is really a wonderful attribute of that, and just overall increasing people's confidence with their financial well-being. I think you can do a lot of different things out in the community, whether it's planting flowers, cleaning up the riverbanks or food, but what we do a little bit differently is we can not only do those wonderful things, but truly help people with their financial competencies, as well as taking it to sort of that digital edge where we can really empower people to make choices in the workforce that are truly unique and different.
And from a financial literacy standpoint, which I believe is very important, working with organizations and working with the youth and getting them off to a strong foundation to understand what money is, how to manage the money, and just really put them in a position to do so. And what you guys are doing, getting outside of these walls and getting out into the community and being a pillar for helping these individuals recognize that and be more confident about it is phenomenal. So, with that, being said, what would you like from the community to just be more aware of when it comes to the Capital One Café?
Sure. So, in talking about sort of that financial empowerment piece, like we just had a money workshop that's led by our ambassadors. We host these regularly. You can check them out online at capitalone.com/cafe. But truly it's about offering these complementary educational tools and resources to empower people to use the space for not only feeling confident about money, but also, as I said before, just to connect with the community. It's truly, I think, a wonderful characteristic when a bank is here, not just to make a dollar, but to really make sure that people are empowered and connecting with the community in a meaningful and engaging way that helps me to be proud to be an employee of this company as well.
So if you are here in Denver or any of the locations nationwide, please get a chance to stop into one of the Capital One Cafe locations. They will really work off bringing this all to life by providing innovative products and a human connection. And when you walk into the cafe, the human connection is very prevalent out the gates, and I think that's what you guys are, should be most proud of, to be able to say that yes, you are, a bank overall and you're providing financial services, but keeping that core component of the human aspect as technology continues to push ahead has been great. Nancy, I said this once before, you have an amazing opportunity to be part of Capital One Cafe as the money coach. I'm sorry, Amy.
She's really smart. I'll be Nancy.
Amy,
I like her.
You're the money coach, right? I said this once before, is like, what a cool job that you have, and you'll be able to really help people build who they are as individuals when it comes to managing money. And there's going to be many of stats out there can talk about that's probably one of the most fearful things to take on, and one of the less things that are spoken about on a regular basis. So can you just tell us what is a money coach, and how can people get a better understanding of how they can utilize you as a resource?
Sure. So the whole point of money coaching and what a money coach does is to help people get really clear around what their goals are with their money and that vision for how they want to get there. We also remove obstacles. I am a certified life coach, so I work with not only the logistical type stuff, but some of the mental barriers that people are dealing with around their money, which is actually a lot of people. And then finally, we can help them put together a plan to help them get there. So it's really a 3-step process, and we've got some fun tools to help them get there along the journey.
So when someone approaches you to say, hey, I'd like to take advantage of the complimentary money coaching sessions you have available, kind of walk us through what that journey looks like from initiation to kind of nudging them on their way,
Sure.
And hopefully giving them a higher level of confidence about that experience they had with you.
Sure. So actually, I'll start from the very beginning. You can get signed up at capitalone.com/money coaching. And as Ira mentioned, we have cafes all over the United States. And so there's other money coaches out there. So log on and see if there's one in your city. Then once you get signed up, you'll then come in, you'll meet with me, and I'll walk you through the process. It's not scary. You don't have to prepare a whole bunch of stuff before you come in. It's literally just me sitting down with you, picking your brain and trying to help you get really clear on what your goals are and how you want your money to work for you, and if you need to think differently about money. Because a lot of times we have to manage the thinking component before we can get into action. around the money. And so I just figure out, basically do a little diagnosis of where you're at. And then Capital One offers 3 complimentary money coaching sessions. So you don't have to knock the ball out of the park in session number 1. You can actually come back 2 more times and keep working on your money coaching journey.
And you don't have to be a Capital One cardholder to
You don't.
enjoy
You don't
these,
have to be an employee.
which
Yeah.
near and dear.
Yeah, it's truly, they want to change the way that people interact with their money. They want to reduce people's stress around money, hence this bank. I mean, it doesn't look like a bank. You don't feel stressed out when you come inside this space. And that's really the goal of money coaching, is to take the taboo out of it, to take the stress out of it, and have you making meaningful steps towards your goals.
What are some successes you've seen? You're doing this now for just over a year.
Yeah.
And obviously without being specific of the client.
Sure.
But what are some successes you've seen from someone kind of going through that process to going through your session overall? Like either limited beliefs that they thought they had and they were able to fight through that, or they had a lofty goal and they were just able to kind of work through it and just take charge of
Sure.
their financial situation.
Yeah, and so all money coaching sessions are confidential, so I will speak in generalities, but I've seen a lot of clients, when they get really clear on their values and what's important to them and why they want to spend a certain way and save a certain way, it shifts how much debt they're racking up, how quickly they're paying down that debt. I've had several people recently that I've had several sessions with that have completely wiped out thousands of dollars,
Wow.
thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of debt. I've had somebody that went from being homeless and just getting, back on their feet and having a lot of limiting beliefs around money,
Yeah.
to walking down, I get goosebumps when I talk about this one, walking down the street and seeing a Mercedes drive down the street, and she says, that can be me.
Love
To have that big of a shift in your thinking in 3 sessions, that's huge, but it's
Yeah.
possible. There's no limits.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So take advantage of the money coaching sessions if you have the opportunity to do so. I mean, that's really touching and hearing just to be able to say that someone, being homeless, fighting through their situation, being, in huge amounts of debt, and then be able to just shift all over and then just have that burden off your shoulders, waking up every single day knowing that you can go conquer the world and find your way towards your goals is phenomenal. So we're going to continue on, and we're going to bring on our guest. We got Michael Bevis, the owner of KoolSkinz. If you can come up here, Michael, a nice round of applause for Michael, please. Woo! Thank you, Nancy. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. So, quick backstory with Michael. He and I had met at a fundraising event last fall, and he was kind of sitting off in the corner, and I didn't know anyone at the networking event, so I walked up to him like, "Hey, I'm Ira. How you doing?" And we're just kind of, chance to kind of, connect and talk. And I told him, about, what I was doing, what I have going on, and he was mentioning, his business, his startup that he has, KoolSkinz. And I just started following him on Facebook and Instagram, and I've just kind of seen some progress coming ahead. And you and I just recently, got a chance to catch up, again. And I believe that your story is phenomenal. You put over 8 years to put your business in a place to get it where it is today. A lot of trials and tribulations, probably some limited beliefs when it came around money, funding your business, out of your pocket. But then there's also a pretty interesting component for you as well, is that you teach entrepreneurship. And I think that's what we're going to speak about today is, going from, book, like learning it in the book, and then becoming very practical and executing it in real life, and how, that might be applicable moving forward. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing with us about a little bit about your past. What is KoolSkinz? It's a pet performance product. So if you can just kind of jump into that, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. So I always jokingly say I'm a recovering banker. I was in the banking and finance industry for almost 17 years and kind of got burnt out on that a little bit. Just with some of the shifting, actually it's very energizing to be here and seeing what this bank is doing as far as bringing the community back together, because quite frankly I was on the front end of retail where we were pushing customers out of the bank and pushing them into online spaces and things like that. So it's nice that you're finding ways to bring them back into that. But did some soul searching and realized what I liked best about banking was teaching my customers how to run their businesses better, so they'd qualify for loans and different things like that. So I got into higher education. Started teaching marketing and finance classes, and now I run an entrepreneurship program here in Denver. That kind of culminates into them having an opportunity to kind of incubate in their space. Like you said, I'm not just a philosopher when it comes to the education piece of it. I want to put it all into practice. I've done several businesses, several nonprofits. This is kind of my big baby. That's why it took 8 years to make this happen. So many people know this or don't know this, but there's over 90 million dogs in American households right now. That's more than there are children. So, and sadly, every year, tens of thousands of those dogs die from heat stroke.
Wow.
Because dogs don't have the ability to cool themselves like humans do. They can't sweat. The only way they can cool themselves is through the pads of their feet. So my product is designed to help them kind of keep their core body temperature regulated on hot days like we've been experiencing here in Denver. And my overall goal is to try to save 8 million dogs and help them live happy, healthy, active lives.
That's great. That's great. And you went through a personal loss with your dog that has really like expedited the process as well, in giving you some purpose behind what you're doing. If you share just a little bit about how that transition has really fed you the fuel to take it to the next level.
Yeah, so again, kind of back to the stats, right? There's 90 million dogs in American households, and that's clearly a sign that we love our animals, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that we're able to kind of do our best to help them stay comfortable. We go out and buy fancy clothes for ourselves, shoes when we go hiking or running or whatever you're into, and our dogs deserve the best. And about 8 years ago, I had a dog that passed away hiking out on a trail, died from heat stroke.
Wow.
Did some research in the market, tried to understand what products were available to help solve this problem. There's a few products out there. I found that they all kind of suffer from a couple of major things. One is that they're big and bulky and stiff. The other is that the cooling agent that they use typically doesn't last for longer than about 15 minutes. So we've developed a product over the past 8 years that will actually help the animal stay cool for up to 2 hours in 90-degree weather.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. So, starting a business is not easy, right? Funding a business is not easier.
Right.
And what worries did you have, over the course of that 8-year time period where you felt like, I can't do it, or I don't have the money to do it, or you might probably be going a little bit deeper into risk. To manage all of this, and how did that make you feel, and what were you able to do to overcome that?
Yeah, so obviously money is always the issue, right? And so any entrepreneur you talk to will always tell you it always takes way more money than you think it's supposed to.
Yes.
No matter how many times you pencil it out on paper. And so for me, that's part of the reason why it took as long as it did, because I was funding it out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that the product was 100% before I was looking for outside investment and kind of growing it from there. There's a lot of days where I kind of question the fact, like, should I still be eating top ramen like I was in my college days at this stage in my life? But you make those sacrifices and you invest in kind of the things that are important to you. I'm very proud of the fact that our product is made right here in Denver, and that's a big proponent of that. So being kind of shelling out, okay, I'm going to get paid for my regular job on this day so I can go the next step in my business process, is kind of how that all worked out for me.
And you've been balancing that, right? So you have a full-time job, career, and now you're doing once was a side hustle to now like a true startup,
right? And
you're selling products. And this past weekend you were at a couple street fests, just getting your name out there.
Yeah.
What are some challenges from a startup perspective? Have you seen that you weren't expecting? That might have kind of like just put you on the sideline for a little bit.
Well, not only just with my product, but with other entrepreneurs that I work with and I coach. You think your idea is always the best thing ever, right?
Yeah, your baby.
Right, and all the people around you, your friends and your family, they're always eager to kind of hype you up in that process. The true test is when the rubber hits the road, so to speak, and the product hits the market. And if people, if the product's flying off the shelf and people are writing positive reviews and those kinds of things, so that's always a little bit nerve-wracking for me. And I worked a long time. We've been prototyping the product for over 2 years in about 5 different countries on 150 different dogs. Finally got to the point where the feedback was strong and consistent, and I knew it was time then to seek that outside investment and get some capital infused in there so I could produce the volume I need to get it into retail.
Wow. Amy, from listening to Michael's story, right?
Yeah.
Very unique, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a philosopher, teaching, entrepreneur, but then taking some risk to fund his own business out the gate. You know, what are some things that you might recognize that other individuals who are wanting to get into business, you know, could do proactively moving forward to you know, try and make sure they have the greatest sense of success coming out the gates?
Well, I would just say first things first, a clear sense of vision, because if you really know what you want and you know the direction that you're moving, you get distracted by less things along the side. And this was actually something that Michael and I joked about a little bit, because when you first start out, you think that everything's necessary, fancy photography, and I should actually let you tell that part of it, but it is, if your vision isn't super clear, it's hard to really create your priorities and then spend to those priorities. And that goes into personal finance as well. If you don't know what's important to you and what you're saving for, whether it be a house or whatever, you kind of spend on everything. You have FOMO. You know, your friends are going to a concert, so you go to a concert too, and you've never even heard of the person, but you throw down $150 for that ticket. So I think that shows up with entrepreneurs and in our own personal finance as well. But I should let you tell that story of just how, because I asked him, I said, what would you have done differently looking back now? And he was pretty clear.
Yeah. So we spent a lot of our initial capital on important things down the road, but not sure that they were necessarily as important on the front end. But things like patent attorneys really is the patent itself actually not expensive as the attorney's fees. Marketing, you know, we spent a lot of money on social media folks to help us do that. Again, I can provide the philosophy on how social media is supposed to work. I admit I'm not the best on the app and figuring out how to post all that stuff. Plus, I don't really have the time commitment, you know, in order to that. That is a full-time job.
It is,
to do that properly. We spent a lot of money on professional photographers to get assets that we can use to promote the product and different thing, packaging, designers, the stuff that's really outside of my skill set from that piece. And it really kind of ties into the creative flair. That piece, you know, we spent a lot of money getting it to that point. At the end of the day, the product looks great, the packaging looks great, everything looks great. In hindsight, I would have reversed that. I would have spent more time focusing specifically directly on the product, getting the product into the hands of consumers and retailers, moving product, and then the revenue that was generated from that, tying it back into expanding it from there.
And I think that's the real take home, is a lot of times we're not focusing on the product. We do kind of focus on the other things. And if you can get that product going, get some profit going behind that, it fuels the other stuff. But I actually want to point out that another step that he had to take from a coaching perspective, I see this paralyze people. You had the business background. You knew nothing about sewing.
That's true.
You had to put these. This product was not going to create itself.
A lot of safety pins. Yeah, a lot of safety pins. Yeah. So.
And so that's, you know, from a coaching perspective, just because you don't have that knowledge, I think Michael's living proof that you can learn that aspect of it. And maybe just talk me through the process of how you did teach yourself.
Sure. A lot of it was basically trial and error.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of interesting things when you kind of go into a new venture. Again, it doesn't really matter about your business savvy or your background in that, but terminology. You know, just something as simple as terminology. Again, I'm not a sewer, and I didn't know the phrase cut and sewer. Right. Super simple now that I know it, but I literally spent months and months calling fabric manufacturers and going to retail places that sell fabric and calling, you know, distributors overseas and saying, "Can you make this product?" And they're like, "No, we make fabric." Right? And then one day, phone call number 53, somebody said, "No, you need to call a cut and sewer." And I called a cut and sewer. Fortunately, there was one here in town that does fabulous work for me. My product is very unique. It has to be hand sewn. You can't stick it into a machine and out come widgets on the other side of it. And so there was a lot of technical aspects there. Even packaging, the solution that we use to help keep the dogs cool is packaged in a food processing plant here. Who knew the term co-packer? Right? Again, I'm calling all the film manufacturers who make the film that the solution is packaged in, but something as simple as just that little terminology like that actually held me up for several months in a couple of different cases throughout my journey.
Yeah. But I think, you know, that's the point though, is that you can learn this. And so if you have that great idea, that great product, there's resources in your town. They're definitely in Denver, but in your town where you can learn that stuff. Like, don't let the dream die. You couldn't let the dream die. It was too important. But don't let the dream die because you don't know how to get from point A to point B. That's just a skill set. It's just terminology. That's stuff you can learn, but don't let the fear get in the way.
And it was about taking action. I mean, had you stopped at 25 phone calls or 50 phone calls, the 53rd one never came up to let that person to really realize oh yeah, here's what you need.
Right.
So that persistence and resiliency overall to keep on pushing ahead. If you can go back, Amy mentions fear of missing out. What sacrifices did you make from your personal lifestyle to say, hey, you know what? We have to eat ramen tonight, but that you can say, I need to take this $500 and shift it over to my business. So, where did you build that, that awareness from your money to figure that out?
For me, it's travel. So I'm a travel junkie. And if it were up to me, I'd travel 2 or 3 times a year to a country I haven't been to before. I had to scale that way back in order to do that, because those trips obviously can eat up a big chunk of cash. They create great experiences, and it ultimately will lead back to kind of the character building of who I am. But I feel like there's opportunity for me to build that down the road. So I had to do a lot of that and just kind of cutting corners of certain places. Like I said, with eating, I do eat out a lot, but I don't do a lot more cooking at home and that kind of stuff. So
I need to try that out. And the reason I asked that question is, working with Amy as a money coach and recognizing whatever your goals are, down the road, traveling, getting into business, you have to make sacrifices somewhere. It doesn't have to be forever, but it has to be for a short time period. So this way you can shift those funds over to then have that bigger dream and goal obviously come to fruition overall. What would, that minute that you went from being a teacher in business and obviously you worked in nonprofits, you helped other organizations out, but now this being your baby from the start, how did you feel when you made the decision to say, all right, I'm jumping all in, let's make it happen?
Yeah, scared. Right, so a little bit of it is because not only are you worried about just kind of your day-to-day success, right? I mean, you need to keep putting food on the table, you need to keep paying bills, and everybody's got mortgage payments or rent and things like that. They don't just poof and go away overnight. So that part's a little bit scary, and the fear of, if you can't withstand that period of, can I make the mortgage payment? Can I make the car payment? Even just the basic, necessities, if you will. We can make an argument on whether the car is necessary. But if you can't withstand that period of time, do I then lose my business? Right? Do I lose that and I've lost the house, or do I have to go back into working a full-time job and those kinds of things? And so that's the part that's scariest for me, because I feel like I'm at that period where we're about to really kind of see if this thing's gonna really blow up, and I feel like if it were to scale back or have to be put on pause again, I might lose that momentum.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And now you've started this entrepreneurship program at the school. What's the best advice you can give to the entrepreneurial community, the students that are listening in? Right now you have some street cred. You can say, you know what, I taught out of books, but now I'm actually living it. I'm walking the walk. For the last 8 years, and more in particular last year, really getting this to production. What's the best advice that you can share out there with?
The best advice I can give any entrepreneur right now is come talk to a Capital One money coach. And I'm not trying to pump Amy up, although I'm sure she's fabulous at what she does. The number one reason why businesses fail is because the business owners don't understand accounting, marketing, and the legal aspect of it. And then what I find is that they typically put all that stuff, they push it off. Right? They push that stuff off, and as you know from accounting and finance piece of it, if you let things go too long, then it's almost too hard to come back from that, right? And I want them to be able to understand this is a great resource, right? To come out and get what you need to understand so that you can lay out a plan and be successful when you run into those hurdles and when you run into the scary parts, and is it ramen or steak for tonight kind of thing. But getting an early jump on it is a really critical piece of it. And it's the part that really scares people the most, to be honest with you. In my entrepreneurship class, I teach 2 weeks worth of accounting, and the eyes just get glazed over, right? And so we want them to know that they got a good, comfortable resource for them. I haven't talked to a single entrepreneur a successful one or unsuccessful one who didn't say that they had a strong mentor by their side, this is the best mentor you can get for that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
that. And I will say, I mean, I have to do the caveat that I can't give financial advice as a money coach, but I can walk you through the steps to get what you need. And I think that, like, why don't we want to look at our P&L statements? Why don't we want to look at these things? Usually there's a fear around it. And it's I don't know how to do it. And the other stuff is fun. Coming up with the brand, the logo. I love that kind of stuff because it's creative.
Right.
The number stuff, that's a little bit harder. And so that's often a mindset issue that we need to overcome first to get your head in the game so you're ready for the sprint and the marathon.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I mean, most entrepreneurs are really good at painting a vision, right? This is what I want my company to become. This is what I want the product to look like and form and function. There's a lot of steps between here and the end result of the vision, and a lot of entrepreneurs fail at taking all those steps, right? And that's where the hurdles come in. And so if they can just see the plan, this is the path, you know, we can get there, but sometimes it takes a lot longer than you think it's going to.
And looking at the numbers and, you know, the P&L statements or, you know, looking into your personal bank account, I mean, it could be intimidating. You know, some people are like, oh, I don't got the money, or, you know, or they neglect to look because they know that there's a problem going on. And I think the best thing to do is at least identify and recognize the problem. If you can identify and recognize the problem, then you can take a course of action to solve and come up with a solution to fix that problem. You know, you said, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs just keep on pushing it off, and by then it's too late. Your recourse to action is way too late. And just another testament for Amy, it's like she's having fun with it, and she makes talking about money very fun. And I think we lose that touch and understanding that money's important in business in particular. But then, you know, just in the lifestyle of, you know, having whatever it is you want to do, it's an important resource. It's not everything, but it's an important resource to get you where you want to be. So hearing you laugh and talk about money and really just making it to a fun-loving game for other people to take advantage of is crucial. So looking forward to your continued success and help other people out. And taking the advice of Michael to, you know, if you're gonna get into business, find a money coach out the gates. And Capital One Café is definitely able to provide that overall. So we're gonna open up the floor for a few questions. We got a couple students in here as well that are from DSST public schools. So I'm pretty excited to see you guys here. And these individuals have made the decision that they're going to use this summer to work on their businesses. Is that correct? So listening to Michael, are there any questions that you might have? That I'm calling you out, but hopefully you have a question that you can stand up to.
I mean, I got a question as to, like, going from, like, the struggling piece of it. Like, we struggle every single day. Like, how did you work through that every single day? Like, how did you not give up? Like, what kept you going? What kept you pushing forward with your idea?
Yeah, that happens to me every day still, right? And it happens to almost every entrepreneur that I know, even if they've been doing it for 10 years, every day there's some kind of hurdle. At the end of the day, it's the reward of getting past that hurdle, right? I used to use this example when I was in the banking business, actually. When I was a retail branch manager, I used to say, I like to talk to angry customers. Right? Because if I can send them away happy, then I know I've done my job, right? So that's a challenge that comes to me, and then all of a sudden you figure out the solution to that, and it feels like a great victory, even if it's something as little as finding out the right phone number for a cut and sewer. Right? Yeah.
Well, and can I add, from a coaching perspective, we call it getting clear on your why, like your purpose for doing it. And if you know why you're doing it, and it's, you know, what makes you want to breathe air, you're excited to get up and keep going. And also give yourself those little wins, because every time you get a little win, you get a dopamine hit. You get those chemicals, those feel-good chemicals going in your brain, and that can keep you going as well. So if you find yourself getting frustrated, you probably need to break apart the big goal into smaller goals so you feel like you've got momentum. That would be my suggestion as a coach.
That's great.
And I'm gonna add to that is being an entrepreneur is a very difficult challenge, and you have to mentally prepare for that challenge. And but you have to have fun in the process, and that's most important. Is if you're not having fun with what you're doing, and you're only facing the challenges as it, you know, just holding you back, those challenges are going to be there. So you should expect those challenges ahead, anticipate, as the challenges are coming ahead, but make sure you find those small victories on an ongoing basis and have fun in the process. And like Amy said, was about understanding your vision, right? If you know the big picture and where you want to go, those are going to be small little hiccups in your way, and they won't seem as fearful or as impossible as they might seem in that particular moment. So just stop, take a step back, realize why you got into what you're doing with that purpose, that sense of purpose, but then always remember that there's fun things that are happening. Just maybe not in that particular moment. If you went back a year later and realize how far you've come, you will appreciate and have a higher level of gratitude for where you are today.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Yes.
So you're dealing with animals, and I can understand if you're making a product for humans, you can ask people, how do you like this?
How do you feel?
How do you learn whether the dog likes your product?
That's a great question.
I
right?
love that.
So if you're a dog owner, you can definitely tell when your dog is happy and when they're not, right? Whether it's because of the food you fed them or the fact that you left them at home too long by themselves and they give you the stink eye when you come home. But at the end of the day, so the two problems I was trying to solve with the product I created was some of the products that I see out on the market are big and bulky and stiff, and they serve a function in some capacity. But if you really wanted to take your dog for some long distances, they'll actually rub sores where the dog has movement and motion. And the other piece is making sure that they stay cool for the period of time that I want to keep them out there. And so I tested the solutions for years and years in order to get just the right temperature solution. So now today, again, on a day like today, I could be out hiking, and 2 hours into my hike, I could reach my hand in between the vest and the dog's chest and still feel that it's cool. Yep.
That's a great question. Because they talk about customer feedback is important, right?
I always look for the tails.
RPM.
Yeah.
You have a question back there? I saw a hand go up, so I wasn't quite sure.
No.
So, yes, please.
One of the difficulties that I would think would arise in your situation was that you had a pretty comfortable situation financially and career-wise, and it must be awfully difficult to let go of that. And
Very
take
much
the risk
so.
that you did.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to the people that are in that situation who are actually doing pretty well and are apparently successful, at least to the outside world, but have that desire to do something different?
Yeah, I think it goes back to Amy's comment, right? Understanding what your why is, right? What is it that you want to pursue, and why is that the case? Is it based on money? Is it based on the fact that you're the creator of something and you can say, that's my brand, I built that? Is it because you don't want to have a boss, or whatever the case is? I talk to a lot of people who are in that stage. I'm working, I have a good job, but I'm not really that happy here. I always tell them, go out and be intrapreneurial first, right? So create something within the company that you currently work for and see how you can do that, right? Because you're going to get pushback from your boss, from the board of directors, from all the different entities that you have to go up that level. And if you can be intrapreneurial and create something within your own organization, you know that you might have the grit to do it elsewhere.
Well, this show's called Fluent Hustle, but if you're going to have a side hustle, that's the right thing to do for some people. If your biggest fear is leaving a job that puts food on the table, let's say you're the breadwinner, and you're worried about that, you chose purposely. We forget. We can choose how fast or slow we build our business. That was hard for me. I kind of felt like it was all or nothing. I'm like, wait a minute, I have a choice.
Yeah.
You have the lever. And so you can pull the trigger on when you want to leave that job, because I tell people to think of these jobs that they're not really happy with, that they're making a good amount of money. Think of it as an angel investor in your business. I mean, it's a great way to get started if you're really worried about that.
It is. And I think the entrepreneur season of business today is very important. A lot of corporations are looking for individuals that can step up and make changes within the business proactively for their operations. With that being said, I think that more corporations are also more understanding that people want to eventually move on for themselves and they can graduate on to the next level of owning on the business. It's not right for everyone by any means. Like it takes a special individual to be able to do that.
Right.
So I guess finding that balance and figuring out where you're at. But it is hard to just kind of walk away when you're financially stable, I guess you can say, and then take on that risk. It takes a special individual, and you have to ask deep down inside, is like this what you really, really want to do? And if that's the case, then you got to go out there and fail forward.
Yeah.
Find out and figure it out. So.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It just feels like skydiving without a parachute. So.
Okay, so I have a question. My question for
Yeah.
you is inside of your program, what would you say are the characteristics that people have that make them well suited to being an entrepreneur?
So, I mean, Ira alluded to it with the perseverance piece. I might call it stubbornness, right? That's what I refer to myself. If I start something, I'm going to finish it.
Okay.
And it's really that stick-to-itiveness that people have that help them get to the finish line. So in a typical class that I run, about 50% of the students who start the class won't finish.
Wow.
Because they realize all of a sudden, like, whoa, this is hard.
Yeah.
Right? And it's great. They still have that dream and they do that, and hopefully they come back, but now they have a little bit of information to know, okay, these are all the steps that I'm going to have to take in order to get there. I need to retool, give me one more year and I'm going to come back and then I'm going to do it again. So I think it just really comes down to being able to overcome those hurdles. There's setbacks every single day in what we do. Embrace it. Right? Embrace it and just keep pushing forward.
I never wanted to be a fireman, but I feel like I'm a fireman every single day because you're always putting out fires.
Always.
And get used to that. Like, get used to being in a position of leading, managing, and knowing that situations are going to come up, and having that perseverance, and just kind of continue. And even our last show, but having that mindset that you have to succeed. And whatever that looks like in your particular lifestyle you're looking to accomplish, is that when your back is against the wall, you have to find a way to succeed. And not letting quitting being an option, but then you also have to be self-aware too that maybe it's time to pivot. And,
you have to know when to shift or when to pivot, right? Because there's a lot of things, even in my own product, I've changes that I've done in my business model, in the final solution of the product itself that's very different from my initial vision. And at the end of the day, the results are good. We're getting there. But that's sometime, again, you have that stubbornness to keep pushing forward, but you have to know when to back off a little bit and kind of take a little bit different path in order to get to the end result.
And I'd say from a coaching perspective, that is perspective. And it helps to have a mentor or a board of directors, a mastermind, and that could even just be a group of fellow entrepreneurs that you trust that will give you honest feedback, that can take you to that higher level of consciousness to see the problem from a different perspective. Sometimes you just need to change the perspective, and solutions will.
And I always recommend trying to put people on your board or in your mentorship group that have the furthest distance from whatever your product or your passion is. Right? I have several people that provide me mentorship that aren't dog owners. Right? It's almost hard to find non-dog owners in the United States these days. But I have people that are non-dog owners, because I get them to say, I don't get it, or why does that work, or why do you think that's going to work? And if I can overcome those challenges, then it helps kind of shape the direction I need to go and keep it moving.
I love that. So at the end of the show, we're going to be doing a raffle, which is going to be off camera, but sweepstakes. Correction on that. So we're doing a sweepstakes. So make sure you guys get a chance to enter your information, and Michael's going to be drawing that for a $100 gift certificate to KoolSkinz. So we really appreciate Capital One Café to allowing us this opportunity to provide a product to a lucky winner out there. So if you have any more questions, just hit up Michael on the side. You can reach him on social media essentially everywhere, or reach out to us. But Fluent Hustle, again, is a community that looks to empower, promote, and inspire entrepreneurs through the stories shared of entrepreneurs like Michael. We really appreciate you coming in here, opening up, being vulnerable, sharing your story, and we look forward to the success that you have coming ahead. And nothing but great success for you, okay? And then Amy, thank you very much for providing your insight and money coaching. Please take advantage of it if you have the opportunity to do so. There's been some people that have come to me on the side, like, I didn't know what money coach was even an option.
Yeah.
And
there's no catch. It's complimentary.
Yeah, come in, customer or not, come in and go sit down with her, or at least go online and see what the options are available for us. So.
Can I do a quick plug?
Please.
We're doing a Mapping Your Career Path next Tuesday here in the space from 5 to 6. And it's not necessarily just jumping jobs. Are you ready to be an entrepreneur? And we're going to look at your personal brand and your values. So we're going to get into some of these topics. It's a brand new workshop, and I'm excited to teach it.
Love it.
I would love to see you guys here inside the space to take advantage of that.
Well, we'll be sure to share that as well.
Yeah,
so,
thanks.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Continue to go out there and hustle on. Take care.
Cool. Thanks, man.